Ripple just went all in. All of their chips are on the table and they aren't aiming to just win. They're aiming to dominate in the new world of global financial technology, whether that's in the crypto sector, the banking sector, global remittances, prime brokerages, and now the stablecoin market. Just yesterday, we heard the news that Ripple in Brad Garlinghouse offered $4 to $5 billion to acquire USDC and Circle's business in the stablecoin market. The very next day, it was rumored that they raised the stakes and now have made a $20 billion offer to acquire Circle and USDC. But something really interesting happened, as this $20 billion offer was posted, or I should say reposted, by the large exchange Uphold, saying, "Is 20 billion the magic number?" This was retweeted on a post that is now deleted. In other words, is there more going on than they want us to know? Did someone leak this info prematurely, causing the original source to actually delete the post? How much money is Circle's USDC business and the stablecoin worth? And what's Ripple actually willing to pay for it? Well, we'll uncover what's really going on behind the scenes. Because according to a post from someone in the XRP army, they're saying that if Ripple does buy USDC, you're not just early, you're inside the takeover, as XRP becomes the weapon behind the curtain. And if an integration of this size was actually accomplished, then yes, XRP itself would skyrocket because much of the business would be done on the XRPL. And in this video, we'll also be covering this most recent tweet from the team at Ripple and how the Middle East and Africa are among the most exciting regions for enterprise crypto adoption, as well as another one of their latest videos from Chief Legal Officer over at Ripple, Stuart Alderodi, and what really happened between Ripple and the SEC, which caused the SEC to lose in this landmark case. And finally, some massive news from Visa. So as always, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Paul and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDeFi, PAULIEDEFI. Also, to kick this video off, every single Sunday, we are giving away $100 worth of XRP. And you can actually enter into this giveaway in 3 very simple steps. First, you have to head on over to X or Twitter and follow Bull Runners HQ. Once you do, go ahead and like this pinned post and comment XRP on the pinned post. And the third step would be to come to any one of the Bull Runner videos, and once you're on the other side, scroll down to either the description or the very first pinned comment and sign up to become a user or a trader over at Blowfin. You just have to create a very quick account. There are 10% cashback bonuses for up to $5,000 in futures, and that is only through our link. Now, every single Sunday, the winner, and will be completely random, will be announced in our daily email newsletter. So if you haven't already signed up for that, head on over to another link down in the description, bullrunners.com/altcoin secrets, to get this free ebook and get the 23 secrets to becoming a crypto millionaire. So with that said, let's dive into today's video. Might as well start off with Stuart Alderodi in this latest 1-minute crypto video directly from Ripple, talking about how the SEC dropped its appeal and what he had to share on the whole matter.
I feel good. I condensed 6 years of my life into 60 seconds. Hi, this is Stu Alderodi, and this is Crypto in a Minute. So why did the SEC drop its appeal against Ripple? I think the real question is, why did they bring the case at all? The SEC has not only dropped its appeal against Ripple, they've now dropped every case against every crypto company in the United States. Why? Because the SEC has now admitted what we've always been saying, that you can't bring enforcement actions for violating the law without first explaining what the law is, and we never had clear laws, rules, and regulations regarding crypto in this country. So we're going to clean up the mess We're going to get out of the courtroom. We're going to get back to running business, and we're going to now press forward, working with Congress to get smart crypto regulation in place that protects consumers, that protects the integrity of the market, that keeps bad actors out, and most importantly, allows the innovation to flourish.
It's good to see that the tailwinds are finally behind us and we can move forward with crypto innovation in the United States. And yes, the crypto market has actually been perking up quite a bit over the last few days, although we're probably not going to get into too much technical analysis in this video because I really want to spend time covering this interesting news surrounding a potential bid to purchase Circle, which is the second largest crypto by market cap. Actually, I can come right on over here and go to Coin Market Cap. And as you can see here at number 7 in terms of market cap for a stable coin sitting at $61 billion, you have USDC. That is quite a large market cap for just about any stable coin. And again, it's important to remember that the stablecoin market is easily one of the most obvious plays when it comes to an income generator for any crypto company, right? These are stable coins that are typically going to be one-to-one backed and fully regulatory compliant in the countries that they operate in. That said, USDC is one of the only companies that is actually in that type of a situation alongside RLUSD. The problem is RLUSD is a far smaller crypto by market cap, currently sitting at about $316 million. Now, it's important to note that this thing has consistently been trending up and to the right since it launched December of last year. We started out with about $53 million, and as you can see here, the market cap has been growing and growing and growing and is now at $316 million. But it's important to also remember that because they bought the prime brokerage and because of asset tokenization and because they're going to start to move a lot of their clientele over onto the XRPL, many of them will by default start to use RLUSD. And so far, RLUSD is actually listed on about 15 different exchanges and also 2 DeFi exchanges like Sologenic and Uniswap. I expect this to continue to grow as the demand for RLUSD continues to grow as well, but it's listed on some pretty big exchanges like Kraken and also Uphold. So ultimately, whether or not Ripple is actually able to acquire USDC, again, this is a company that has a market cap on their stablecoin of $60 billion. I thoroughly expect Ripple's RLUSD to continue to climb in terms of volume just based on the fact that they have that prime brokerage now and they're the third largest crypto by market cap in the world. They are cash rich right now. They're in a position of power. They're aiming to dominate. And arguably, Uphold is a very large player in the crypto market. So I'm not too sure what's going on here. They retweeted a post that was actually taken down talking about 20 billion being the magic number to acquire USDC. Many people have speculated that something else is going on behind the scenes. Some people currently think it's just completely fake news, but apparently this came directly from the Cointelegraph. So I'm not too sure if someone reached out to the Cointelegraph and said, take this article down before we sue, but we've seen this happen before. If anyone remembers, at one point in time before the spot ETF for Bitcoin, BlackRock was about to file. The news came out prematurely. BlackRock put out a statement saying, no, it's not true. And then literally the same week, essentially, they actually did list their spot ETF. So is it possible that this is actually going on behind the scenes? Because again, they do have access to $20 billion in capital, even if they have to borrow a bit of cash in order to buy the second largest player in the market. Now, why would they do this? Why would they want to create this much noise in the space? Well, arguably it's because they want XRP to be at the center of it all and the backbone behind their new financial system that they're setting up. And so in this post directly from Pumpius, which is actually a pretty cool name, he says that USDC is the regulator's favorite toy, and it is actually true. In the entire market of crypto, one of the only stable coins to, for whatever reason, similar to Sam Bankman-Fried with FTX when he was in bed with Gary Gensler at the SEC, sitting in the rooms, talking to them, chatting it up, even though he it was a total scammer. For whatever reason, USDC and Circle seem to have their voices heard in the right rooms and never had any issues with regulators, while everyone else got harassed year over year over year. In other words, if the deal goes through, Ripple controls the on-ramp, USDC, Ripple controls the settlement layer, and then eventually people are speculating that they will replace Swift because the XRPL is more effective, efficient, it settles more quickly, and on the list goes. So many people will actually just continue to use USDC, but on the back end, XRP will be doing the real work. So in other words, Ripple doesn't actually want to compete. They actually want to replace and dominate. They want to acquire companies that are already successful because they have the capital to do so and essentially perform what we would call a hostile takeover of the entire industry. And USDC is in such a key position right now because they're one of the only companies at their size and scale that is truly above board across the board when it comes to be one-to-one backed dollar for dollar, and at some point in time, if there are any shaky legs or issues with Tether, then all of the money will flow into USDC. Now, could you imagine one of the largest crypto companies in the world with XRP holding and owning and combining both RLUSD and USDC and all of the clientele and all of that transactional value, then putting it on the XRPL, which becomes the default invisible settlement engine for the world's money? This is absolutely insane. However, I want to be clear that these numbers are not currently verified. So yes, we can speculate, and maybe you want to buy into some of the rumors here, but it's important to note there have been a lot of different accounts that have been caught posting fake or false information, bouncing between $10 billion to $20 billion. And so I did find a tweet that is actually very helpful to understand what's really going on. And that is from Dom Kwok, who is a Wharton grad and has worked at Blackstone as well as Goldman Sachs, currently a co-founder of a major company. And I think he stated it best, the fact that there is a lot of confusion about what's actually happening between Circle and Ripple. Because again, when news broke out about the $4 to $5 billion offering, that is actually true and verified. But then people ran with it and started making a bunch of things up in order to get a bunch of clicks. So what's actually true? Well, he's basically stating that having worked at these places, he'd share some insight into how these acquisitions typically work. In other words, Ripple's final offer, if they are going to acquire something like Circle, the $60 billion market cap crypto, in terms of their actual revenue and business and where they would potentially go public, would be closer to between $6 to $6.5 billion, because that's a typical acquisition premium of 20 to 30%. Most people sharing information online have never actually been behind closed doors or involved in any level of a IPO or an acquisition at this scale. Ripple would reasonably consider offers in the range of $6 billion, which is basically $5 billion times 1.2, or on the upper end, $5 billion to the 1.3x, meaning you can at most expect Ripple's next and likely final offer to be here. Why? Because the current business is valued about $5 billion, which is why Ripple made that offering. Now, here is what's really interesting. If we start to see some really weird things happen with the price action of XRP, let's say the rest of the market really isn't doing much of anything or very slightly pumping, and then in one day, even on no news at all, you see the price of XRP shoot up or skyrocket, and it looks unreasonable. It doesn't make sense. The rest of the market's not moving, but XRP is. It's probably because insiders know something when it comes to an acquisition. In other words, when a company acquires another company, it must pay a premium to incentivize the target to sell. This is why you'll often see a public company's stock price spike on the news of an acquisition break. So not only will it start to move hard into the actual event, but on the event, a bunch of people are going to buy XRP like crazy. And then what'll happen is you will see some profit taking. It'll likely come back down. And we've seen that over and over and over again in the XRP price. So for example, we saw that type of price action happen happen right here on July 13th of 2023 when XRP was deemed not a security in court. We saw it happen right here on the Trump pump, essentially when Trump said we were going to add XRP to a strategic crypto reserve for the United States. Then again, right here, notice the price pumped pretty hard when Brad Garlinghouse came out on March 19th of this year and said that the lawsuit was officially over in an official statement and a video. And guess what happened? We saw sell pressure into that entire little rally and pump. Now, I'm not saying we're actually going to be any more into an intermediate term downtrend. Again, I'm not going to cover too much of the price action here, but right now we are currently being just supported at the prior range highs of about 217 up to 220, currently hanging just above the trend line. And so I would like to see it break above 235 in order to confirm that we are officially trending to the upside yet again and following Bitcoin in its path as it's rallied harder than virtually everything else and above its prior range highs on the Trump pump. In other words, Bitcoin is currently leading the market. So if Bitcoin continues to do well, then yes, XRP is likely going to do well. If Bitcoin currently just, let's say, hangs out and then you start to see XRP act weird, and by weird I mean pump pretty hard, you can reasonably assume that insiders know something that you and I don't, and they're buying into the rumor before the news actually breaks, which means an acquisition is going to be very likely. And yes, if Ripple acquires Circle, then you can expect a pump unlike proportions that we have not seen before. It'll likely be as big, if not bigger, than the Trump pump and take us into prior range highs of at least $3, but likely even just into new all-time highs above this $3.40 range. And so either way, guys, all of this is extremely bullish. They don't need Circle, although it would be huge if they acquired them. I would say it's probably another one of their best business moves, period. So I would hope Ripple acquires them because then XRP is going to perform extremely well. But even if they didn't, you have to understand that they're already well positioned to dominate on a global scale. As in the Middle East and Africa, they're the very first blockchain-enabled payment service provider, which is licensed by the FSA, in other words, Dubai Financial Services Authority, which offers solutions from global payments to securing their crypto. And let's have a short watch of this video directly from Ripple.
The Middle East and Africa is one of the most promising regions in the world for enterprise crypto development and adoption. The United Arab Emirates is one of the first countries in the region to provide regulatory clarity for the industry. We are proud to be the first blockchain-enabled payment service provider to be licensed by the Dubai Financial Services Authority.
Honestly, not gonna lie, I think that little pin, that little Ripple one on his chest that he's wearing is really cool, and I'd love to know where I can get one of those things. But that said, no matter what happens, it looks like Ripple is really trying to dominate the space. And I think it's a subtle nod that they're even just trying to acquire a company like Ripple at all of the XRP army and telling them that we're willing to do whatever it takes to dominate in the future of global finance in all sectors, in all areas. They're not only trying to maintain relevance, but ultimately they want to become a household name and brand. And right now it still means that we are still very much early. But if it wasn't already clear enough, a major player, and we're talking one of the largest, actually the largest payments processor company in the world, excuse me, I just hit my mic, Visa and Bridge launched a stablecoin backed card across all of Latin America. So yes, stablecoins are here to stay. And I believe as they expand their global reach in Africa and in Dubai, Ripple is also going to offer services in Latin America. And arguably, when you see that Visa partnership where Visa is going to offer the RLUSD stablecoin on these stablecoin backed cards, it's going to be huge. Already there are users in Argentina, Colombia, Ecuador, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. And so that's it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, if you haven't already, check out bullrunners.com. You will land on a page that looks like this for Altcoin Pro University. If you want to learn how to do technical analysis like a pro, I host a private call only for our university members every single Tuesday, so you don't want to miss out. And yes, you can ask me questions live, so we can really help you to master the game of looking at a chart, understanding where the market's going, and then making your decisions. questions. But we offer all sorts of courses and classes alongside tons and tons of value. Now, the price is only $97 a month, which might sound like a lot for a monthly membership, but if you're already sitting on crypto, it's really not that bad. And I'll give you one example. One of our DeFi researchers talked about it recently and how we consistently have a goal to help you earn your money back in one of our DeFi yield quick win plays. In other words, if we can make you at least $97 a month in one of these yield farms and show you exactly how to do it, then it will cover the cost of APU and everything else is a free ride. And the value is some of the best in all of the space. We actually stand by that. So in 14 days, if you don't actually get that $100 per month back from one of these yields within 14 days, you can ask for your money back and you're good to go. However, he just shared one of our picks of the week, how $24,000 would generate $2,000 per month in one of the pools that we share with you, and how only $1,200 would get you about $100 per month in yield. Step by step, we show you how to do that. And by the way, the list of quality training from our researchers to our team is bar none the best in the space. So for example, if you come over here and you just scroll down to the university library, you can see that we have guides upon guides that are consistently being updated, and we have members all over the globe. So if this sounds interesting to you, and I don't know why it's not loading, but there it is. If this sounds interesting to you and you want to learn more, head to bullrunners.com. Thanks so much for watching the video, my friend, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.